The Indian Penal Code, blank, arrangement of sections, blank, CHAPTERI Introduction Preamble Sections. 1. Title and extent of operation of the Code. 2. Punishment of offences committed within India. 3. Punishment of offences committed beyond, but which by law may be tried within, India. 4. Extension of Code to extraterritorial offences. 5. Certain laws not to be affected by this Act. CHAPTER 2. General explanations. 6. Definitions in the Code to be understood subject to exceptions. 7. Sense of expression once explained. 8. Gender. 9. Number. 10. Man, woman. 11. Person. 12. Public. 13. Omitted. 14. Servant of government. 15. Repealed. 16. Repealed. 17. Government. 18. India. 19. Judge. 20. Court of Justice. 21. Public servant. 22. Movable property. 23. Wrongful gain. Wrongful loss. Gaining wrongfully, losing wrongfully. 24. Dishonestly. 25. Fraudulently. 26. Reason to believe. 27. Property in possession of wife, clerk or servant. 28. Counterfeit. 29. Document. 29a. Electronic record. 30. Valuable security. 31. A will. 32. Words referring to acts include illegal omissions. 33. Act. Omission. 34. Acts done by several persons in furtherance of common intention. 35. When such an act is criminal by reason of its being done with a criminal knowledge or intention. 36. Effect caused partly by act and partly by omission. 37. Cooperation by doing one of several acts constituting an offense. Sections. 38. Persons concerned in criminal act may be guilty of different offenses. 39. Voluntarily. 40. Offense. 41. Special law. 42. Local law. 43. Illegal. Legally bound to do. 44. Injury. 45. Life. 46. Death. 47. Animal. 48. Vessel. 49. Year. Month. 50. Section. 51. Oath. 52. Good faith. 52a. Harbor. Chapter 3 of Punishments. 53. Punishments. 53a. Construction of reference to transportation. 54. Commutation of sentence of death. 55. Commutation of sentence of imprisonment for life. 55a. Definition of appropriate government. 56. Repealed. 57. Fractions of terms of punishment. 58. Repealed. 59. Repealed. 60. Sentence may be, in certain cases of imprisonment, wholly or partly rigorous of simple. 61. Repealed. 62. Repealed. 63. Amount of fine. 64. Sentence of imprisonment for non-payment of fine. 65. Limit to imprisonment for non-payment of fine, when imprisonment and fine awardable. 66. Description of imprisonment for non-payment of fine. 67. Imprisonment for non-payment of fine, when offense punishable with fine only. 68. Imprisonment to terminate on payment of fine. 69. Termination of imprisonment on payment of proportional part of fine. 70. Fine leviable within 6 years, of during imprisonment. Death not to discharge property from liability. 71. Limit of punishment of offense made up of several offenses. 72. Punishment of person guilty of one of several offenses, the judgment stating that is doubtful of which. 73. Solitary confinement. 74. Limit of solitary confinement. 75. Enhanced punishment for certain offenses under Chapter 12 or Chapter 17 after previous conviction. Chapter IV General Exceptions. 76. Act done by a person bound, or by mistake of fact believing himself bound, by law. 77. Act of judge when acting judicially. 78. Act done pursuant to the judgment or order of court. 79. Act done by a person justified, or by mistake of fact believing himself justified, by law. 80. Accident in doing a lawful act. 81. Act likely to cause harm, but done without criminal intent, and to prevent other harm. Sections. 82. Act of a child under 7 years of age. 83. Act of a child above 7 and under 12 of immature understanding. 84. Act of a person of unsound mind. 85. Act of a person incapable of judgment by reason of intoxication caused against his will. 86. Offense requiring a particular intent or knowledge committed by one who is intoxicated. 87. Act not intended and not known to be likely to cause death or grievous hurt, done by consent. 88. Act not intended to cause death, done by consent in good faith for person's benefit. 89. Act done in good faith for benefit of child or insane person, by or by consent of guardian. Provisos. 90. Consent known to be given under fear or misconception. Consent of insane person. Consent of child. 91. Exclusion of acts which are offenses independently of harm caused. 92. Act done in good faith for benefit of a person without consent. Provisos. 93. Communication made in good faith. 94. Act to which a person is compelled by threats. 95. Act causing slight harm. Of the right of private defense. 96. Things done in private defense. 97. Right of private defense of the body and of property. 98. Right of private defense against the act of a person of unsound mind. etc. 99. Acts against which there is no right of private defense. Extent to which the right may be exercised. 100. When the right of private defense of the body extends to causing death. 101. When such right extends to causing any harm other than death. 102. Commencement and continuance of the right of private defense of the body. 103. When the right of private defense of property extends to causing death. 104. When such right extends to causing any harm other than death. 105. Commencement and continuance of the right of private defense of property. 106. Right of private defense against deadly assault when there is risk of harm to innocent person. CHAPTERV of abatement. 107. Abatement of a thing. 108. Abatter. 108a. Abatement in Indian of offences outside India. 109. Punishment of a abatement if the act abetted is committed in consequence and when no express provision is made for its punishment. 110. Punishment of abatement if person abetted does act with different intention from that of abettor. 111. Liability of abetter when one act abetted and different act done. 112. Abetter when liable to cumulative punishment for act abetted and for act done. 113. Liability of abetter for an effect caused by the act abetted different from that intended by the abetter. 114. Abetter present when offense is committed. 115. Abatement of offense punishable with death or imprisonment for life, if offense not committed. If act causing harm be done in consequence. 116. Abatement of offense punishable with imprisonment, if offense be not committed. If abettor or person abetted be a public servant whose duty it is to prevent offense. 117. Abetting commission of offense by the public or by more than 10 persons. 118. Concealing design to commit offense punishable with death or imprisonment for life. If offense be committed. If offense be not committed. 119. Public servant concealing design to commit offense which it is his duty to prevent. If offense be committed. If offense be punishable with death, etc. If offense be not committed. 120. Concealing design to commit offense punishable with imprisonment. If offense be committed. If offense be not committed. Chapter VA. CRIMINALCONSPIRACY. 120a. Definition of criminal conspiracy. Sections. 120b. Punishment of criminal conspiracy. Chapter V. Of offenses against the state. 121. Waging, or attempting to wage war, or abetting waging of war, against the government of India. 121a. Conspiracy to commit offences punishable by Section 121. 122. Collecting arms, etc., with intention of waging war against the Government of India. 123. Concealing with intent to facilitate design to wage war. 124. Assaulting President, Governor, etc., with intent to compel or restrain the exercise of any lawful power. 124a. Sedition. 125. Waging war against any Asiatic power in alliance with the Government of India. 126. Committing depredation on territories of power at peace with the Government of India. 127. Receiving property taken by war or depredation mentioned in sections 125 and 126. 128. Public servant voluntarily allowing prisoner of state or war to escape. 129. Public servant negligently suffering such prisoner to escape. 130. Aiding escape of, rescuing or harboring such prisoner. Chapter 7. Of offences relating to the Army, Navy and Air Force. 131. Abetting mutiny, or attempting to seduce a soldier, sailor or airman from his duty. 132. Abetment of mutiny, if mutiny is committed in consequence thereof. 133. Abetment of assault by soldier, sailor or airman on his superior officer, when in execution of his office. 134. Abetment of such assault, if the assault is committed. 135. Abetment of desertion of soldier, sailor or airman. 136. Harboring deserter. 137. Deserter concealed on board merchant vessel through negligence of master. 138. Abetment of act of insubordination by soldier, sailor or airman. 138a. Repealed. 139. Persons subject to certain acts. 140. Wearing garb or carrying token used by soldier, sailor or airman. Chapter 8. Of offences against the public tranquility. 141. Unlawful assembly. 142. Being member of unlawful assembly. 143. Punishment. 144. Joining unlawful assembly armed with deadly weapon. 145. Joining or continuing in unlawful assembly, knowing it has been commanded to disperse. 146. Rioting. 147. Punishment for rioting. 148. Rioting, armed with deadly weapon. 149. Every member of unlawful assembly guilty of offense committed in prosecution of common object. 150. Hiring, or conniving at hiring, of persons to join unlawful assembly. 151. Knowingly joining or continuing in assembly of 5 or more persons after it has been commanded to disperse. 152. Assaulting or obstructing public servant when suppressing riot, etc. 153. Wantonly giving provocation, with intent to cause riot, if rioting be committed, if not committed. 153a. Promoting enmity between different groups on grounds of religion, race, place of birth, residence, language, etc., and doing acts prejudicial to maintenance of harmony. Offense committed in place of worship, etc. 153a. Punishment for knowingly carrying arms in any procession or organizing, or holding or taking part in any mass drill or mass training with arms. 153b. Imputation, assertions prejudicial to national integration. 154. Owner or occupier of land on which an unlawful assembly is held. 155. Liability of person for whose benefit riot is committed. 156. Liability of agent of owner or occupier for whose benefit riot is committed. 157. Harboring persons hired for an unlawful assembly. ECTIONS. 158. Being hired to take part in an unlawful assembly or riot, or to go armed. 159. Affray. 160. Punishment for committing affray. Chapter IX. of OFFENCESBYOR relating to public servants 161 to 165A. Repealed. 166. Public servant disobeying law, with intent to cause injury to any person. 166A. Public servant disobeying direction under law. 166B. Punishment for non-treatment of victim. 167. Public servant framing an incorrect document with intent to cause injury. 168. Public servant unlawfully engaging in trade. 169. Public servant unlawfully buying or bidding for property. 170. Personating a public servant. 171. Wearing garb or carrying token used by public servant with fraudulent intent. Chapter IXA. Of OFFENCESRELATING to Elections 171A. Candidate, electoral right, defined. 171B. Bribery. 171C. Undue influence at elections. 171D. Personation at elections. 171E. Punishment for bribery. 171F. Punishment for undue influence or personation at an election. 171G. False statement in connection with an election. 171H. Illegal payments in connection with an election. 171I. Failure to keep election accounts. Chapter X. Of Contempts of the Lawful Authority of Public Servants 172. Absconding to avoid service of summons of other proceeding. 173. Preventing service of summons or other proceeding, or preventing publication thereof. 174. Non-attendance in obedience to an order from public servant. 174A. Non-appearance in response to a proclamation under Section 82 of Act 2 of 1974. 175. Omission to produce document to public servant by person legally bound to produce it. 176. Omission to give notice or information to public servant by person legally bound to give it. 177. Furnishing false information. 178. Refusing oath or affirmation when duly required by public servant to make it. 179. Refusing to answer public servant authorized to question. 180. Refusing to sign statement. 181. False statement on oath or affirmation to public servant or person authorized to administer an oath or affirmation. 182. False information, with intent to cause public servant to use his lawful power to the injury of another person. 183. Resistance to the taking of property by the lawful authority of a public servant. 184. Obstructing sale of property offered for sale by authority of public servant. 185. Illegal purchase or bid for property offered for sale by authority of public servant. 186. Obstructing public servant in discharge of public functions. 187. Omission to assist public servant when bound by law to give assistance. 188. Disobedience to order duly promulgated by public servant. 189. Threat of injury to public servant. 190. Threat of injury to induce person to refrain from applying for protection to public servant. Chapter 11. Of FLSEEVIDENCEN Offences against Public Justice 191. Giving false evidence. 192. Fabricating false evidence. 193. Punishment for false evidence. 194. Giving or fabricating false evidence with intent to procure conviction of capital offense. If innocent person be thereby convicted and executed. Sections 195. Giving or fabricating false evidence with intent to procure conviction of offense punishable with imprisonment for life or imprisonment. 195A. Threatening any person to give false evidence. 196. Using evidence known to be false. 197. Issuing or signing false certificate. 198. Using is true a certificate known to be false. 199. False statement made in declaration which is by law receivable as evidence. 200. Using is true such declaration knowing it to be false. 201. Causing disappearance of evidence of offense, or giving false information, to screen offender, if a capital offense. If punishable with imprisonment for life, if punishable with less than 10 years imprisonment. 202. Intentional omission to give information of offense by person bound to inform. 203. Giving false information respecting an offense committed. 204. Destruction of document to prevent its production as evidence. 205. False personation for purpose of act or proceeding in suit or prosecution. 206. Fraudulent removal or concealment of property to prevent its seizure is forfeited in execution. 207. Fraudulent claim to property to prevent its seizure is forfeited in execution. 208. Fraudulently suffering decree for sum not due. 209. Dishonestly making false claim in court. 210. Fraudulently obtaining decree for sum not due. 211. False charge of offense made with intent to injure. 212. Harboring offender. If a capital offense. If punishable with imprisonment for life, or with imprisonment. 213. Taking gift, etc., to screen an offender from punishment, if a capital offense. If punishable with imprisonment for life, or with imprisonment. 214. Offering gift or restoration of property in consideration of screening offender if a capital offense. If punishable with imprisonment for life, or with imprisonment. 215. Taking gift to help to recover stolen property, etc. 216. Harboring offender who has escaped from custody of whose apprehension has been ordered, if a capital offense. If punishable with imprisonment for life, or with imprisonment. 216a. Penalty for harboring robbers or dacoits. 216b. Repealed. 217. Public servant disobeying direction of law with intent to save person from punishment or property from forfeiture. 218. Public servant framing incorrect record or writing with intent to save person from punishment or property from forfeiture. 219. Public servant in judicial proceeding corruptly making report, etc., contrary to law. 220. Commitment for trial or 220. Commitment for trial or confinement by person having authority who knows that he is acting contrary to law. 221. Intentional omission to apprehend on the part of public servant bound to apprehend. 222. Intentional omission to apprehend on the part of public servant bound to apprehend person under sentence or lawfully committed. 223. Escape from confinement or custody negligently suffered by public servant. 224. Resistance or obstruction by a person to his lawful apprehension. 225. Resistance or obstruction to lawful apprehension of another person. 225a. Omission to apprehend, or sufferance of escape, on part of public servant, in cases not otherwise provided for. 225b. Resistance or obstruction to lawful apprehension, or escape or rescue in cases not otherwise provided for. 226. Repealed. 227. Violation of condition of remission of punishment. 228. Intentional insult or interruption to public servant sitting in judicial proceeding. 228a. Disclosure of identity of the victim of certain offences, etc. 229. Personation of a juror or assessor. 229a. Failure by person released on bail or bond to appear in court.